Hi there, my name is Michael. I am 44 years old. I live in New York City with my husband of nearly 10 years. For the last year and 5 months, we have been, or suspect that we are, although when it's so literal right in front of you every single day, we suspect that we are targeted individuals. However, I've got a new term for you. I like to call myself a chosen individual because I choose not to be a target. Here's my advice. Street theater is ridiculous. The people doing it are literally so far gone that if you look at them, you'll laugh and you actually won't even be afraid of what they're trying to do. So my story began here. I tested positive for HIV. So did he. Within 1 week, we were both fired from our jobs, March of 2015, wrongfully so, and unapologetically. We were both turned down for unemployment, and then one by one, not knowing what we had done, we began just having all of our good friendships dissolve. And he and I were the couple that everybody loved, and the couple that all of our friends always talked about how long we stayed together and how much they like coming to our dinner parties. We live in Manhattan, but we have a decent sized apartment, a table that seats four. There's plenty of seating in our living room, as you can see. We used to have 10, 15 friends over at least once a month. I have no friends these days. Maybe something was subliminally suggested to them, or for a while, some of them in the beginning, they became part of it somehow, not even knowing that they were saying things to make me think or freak me out. And then I realized the whole scope of the game. So, gang stalking is the systematic destruction of every single aspect of your life. Your health, their goal is to kill you. The more you act out, the more they'll act up. Street theater will happen pretty frequently in the beginning. I had things like a naked man on my step reading a newspaper. I went to go take a picture of him and the phone wouldn't work. I have unlimited iCloud, but suddenly the memory was full. Imagine that. And then 6 cop cars in a row drove by slowly and looked at me like this. Because most gang stalkers usually look like this. Watch. Because they're programmed. Guess who holds the switch? Literally, Satan. Gang stalking, people say gang stalking is demons. It's very demonic. Organizations are speculated to be behind it, our government's definitely behind it. So are corrupt police and officials, both on city and state level, even nationally. All this happened under the Obama administration, a man who I not only voted for twice, but campaigned for. If you Google Obama, Jesus, all these videos come up with him making fun of the Bible. I'm not saying he's an antichrist. We all have good and bad in us. But he has a lot of very antichrist qualities. And let me just say for the record that I do love him for legalizing equal rights, gay marriage. However, I'm a little bit sad that the first black president has attached to his legacy the legalization of medical marijuana. That makes me a little bit sad. I'm not racist. It was an African-American friend about a year ago who actually said that. And I said, I looked over at her and I said, I thought the same thing and I was afraid to say that to you. She goes, I know you were thinking it. I could tell by the look on your face. But he has a lot of wicked qualities. And, he looks like he's been not home for a long time. There's nothing going on here. It's this, which is half the world now. Look at the summer of 2016, all the events that happened. Horrible. The terrorism, I feel very badly for the police officers that were executed in Dallas. It's horrendous. It's all been horrendous. The ISIS attacks. I'm not a hateful person. I want America to open up our borders to refugees, but, when 3 million Syrians come to this country, we could find ourselves in the position that England's in, losing our country. And we already are. What if half of them are radicalized? Look at the election, look at the candidates. It's all a game. Trump got in the game just to get Hillary elected. She's a criminal and he's a madman. With her, 4 more years of lawlessness with no accountability. With him, he'll literally push the buzzer for the nukes and start World War III. I mean, I have to vote for somebody. I gotta watch these debates. So getting back to gang stalking, my advice is this. Ignore it. And that's hard for me to say because both myself and my partner were nearly murdered. No one would help. Our emails got rerouted and then resent. I was asleep once and my mother-in-law received a voicemail. She managed to play it onto a cassette and mail me the cassette via the post office. I played the cassette. It was not me. It was someone trying to sound like me, but didn't really quite have my personality because he was so demonically possessed. At first, I thought it was a robot. My sister Johanna last summer had Sprint call her because somebody had used her identity to call and take out a second line. This also happened to my sister Marilyn. Everyone in my family has had email addresses created by unknown people, the gang stalkers, and they've made their way into my phone. Like, for example, my sister Joel had periods in her email address between her first, middle, and last name. And then I was emailing her one day. I noticed the periods were gone. She wasn't getting my emails. So then I forwarded all that to her, and she was stunned. This also happened with Nathan's mother. This also happened with my mother. Somehow, because I'm a Christian and I've put my faith and trust in God, he literally has shined such a light on every single tactic that at one point I made a list, and I think I literally figured them all out, but I don't even think about that too much anymore. Ignore gang stalkers. The only thing you should say to them on the street is stop gang stalking me. Because in the beginning I was scared, I played into their game, and the more afraid I became, the more they attacked me. That's how it works. They will attempt to criminalize you. I made 2 new friends. In 2015, they both turned out to be undercover cops or spies for a DA's office. I don't know why. I'm not a criminal. I haven't conducted any criminal activities. And I always found myself in really strange situations with these 2. And then, by complete chance, I saw them having dinner in a restaurant together in downtown Manhattan, and they were not pleased to see me. So, of course, I walked right in and said, "Hey, can I join?" Their body language was that of terror. So these 2 friends that I had met separately, who I didn't even think knew one another, suddenly both had on wedding rings. I said, "So what's your prerogative here?" She cracked immediately. He looked at me and said, "I don't know what to say to you. You don't say nothing," he said to her. I'm like, "Oh, this is your wife." He goes, "We didn't know you'd be down here." I said, "Yeah, I don't have my cell phone today, so I guess I couldn't be tracked." I said, "You know what? I feel badly for you 2 because my courage has grown. A couple months ago, I couldn't leave my apartment, mainly because of friendships with the 2 of you and the reign of terror that you issued down upon me. But I'm not going to be terrorized anymore." Ignore gang stalkers completely. Even if you do see them, act like you don't, or just don't see them. If I have to go somewhere, I put on a baseball cap, sunglasses, and put in earphones, and I blast music as loud as possible. Play the Bible on audio, or better yet, make your whole situation better. Come to know Jesus Christ, because he's removed the fear. He's removed the anxiety, and he has healed me in every possible way a person can be healed. Even their attacks on my body, including candida, which showed up 3 different times after I went on antifungal medications. My doctor was stunned. He had no explanation at all. He said, "You're somehow producing candida just to produce it." I realized that the steam leaking out of my bedroom radiator wasn't leaking out of my bedroom radiator. It was leaking out of a broken concrete plate under it, which wasn't broken when I moved in because I inspected this place. The steam was evil because there was so much steam every day that I got a bottle and got the bottle to fill up with the steam. I put a pan there and caught all the water. I looked at the steam. There was yeast in the steam. Literally. Literally. So guess what I did? To prove that it was yeast, I'm no scientist, but I looked online. I strained it through 3 cheesecloths. And then I figured it only got wet. It didn't get baked. Let me add this to other ingredients and see if it makes bread. Well, the yeast rose. Suddenly, the guy downstairs moved out the next day, and another Airbnb person moved in. I mean, come on. That steam nearly cost my husband his life, because we also have HIV. He had sepsis, colitis, a UTI, ear infections, thrush, and a fungus in his brain they can still not describe. I'm not angry. I don't hate anyone because I don't want to hate. I don't want to be like them. If you think that you're a chosen individual, guess what? You're lucky. I'm lucky. Because we're not of the flesh. And for some reason, this is really only happening to Christians. The dawn of the apocalypse is here. The dawn of Armageddon is at our doorstep. It has begun. You know, I have felt the evil in this world amped up to an extreme volume in the last year. And I've chosen to fill myself with the love of Jesus Christ, the Holy Spirit, God, and salvation, because salvation's free. And if the New World Order is taken over, look at their order. I mean, look at their last year. It's only going to get worse. Horrible. So ignore the street theater. Try and ignore the electronic harassment, even though it can be so deafening and hurtful to your soul. It literally can break your inner peace. Don't allow it. To be terrified, you have to allow yourself to feel terrorized. To be afraid, you have to let someone instill in you fear. To be a victim, you have to allow yourself to be victimized. Just don't. You know, I used to have people walking in front of me, directing conversations into my ear, pretending to be on their cell phones. And they were talking things like, oh, well, if they get him into court, that's going to be that. He'll get murdered in prison. You know, a gay guy like him. And then one day I looked at the people doing this gang stalking. They can't even afford soap. And when the NWO, if and when they do take over, they'll kill off these gang stalkers sooner than they'll kill off us. The gang stalked. You know, if it is true about the weapons testing and all that, and I have felt some very strange things in my body. I now have a couple abnormalities in my arm that can't be explained. One doctor flipped out, burst into tears, and left the room.